What's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of MUT Tips. I'm your host, Sean Taylor from the Made Up Theater, and before we jump in, make sure to like the video down below, leave a comment, and as always, subscribe on YouTube down below to be informed of upcoming videos and live streams. Ring that bell. Now let's jump into today's topic, the do's and don'ts of object work. This video is in response to a comment I received recently on one of my videos in regards to object work and what to do and what not to do. And object work is one of my favorite things to utilize on stage. I'm not a professional pantomime, but I just love doing it. I think it adds such a much needed extra layer of entertainment and discovery. And also, it's just that added layer of showing rather than telling. So let's get into some do's and don'ts. The first do of object work is shared. Because when you create objects, props, the environment out of thin air, it's not just yours, it's ours together. If I create a shovel in a scene and I show that to my scene partner, I've given my scene partner permission to use it as well. My scene partner might come over and grab the shovel from me and start digging aggressively on the other side of the stage. And that's a great gift. It's showing that maybe I'm not doing work hard enough and they're unsatisfied with my speed. And that's an interesting, fun, new layer to the scene that comes from sharing our object work. When you create something, it can be an object that could be taken or it can be an object that you give away. This creates a stronger connection in the scene, not just with the dialogue, but with what you are showing on stage. And my first don't of object work, and take this with a grain of salt, I'm not 100% against it, but since this is aligned with sharing your object work, don't use your hands to represent objects. It's kind of common, a lot of improvisers, beginning to advanced, still do it, and a few common examples are like, scissors, phone, gun. These are kind of the main ones that we default to because we did this a lot when we were kids, or we do it as a way to communicate with people by, adding a little extra visualization. Oh, I got a phone call from Susan the other day. But the thing is, this doesn't translate as well on stage, right? We want to create props, and by making our hand a prop, well, it's not shareable, or it's harder to make shareable. If I'm in a scene and I'm on a phone call using my hand, I'm like, hey, Mom, I'm gonna get it done, I swear, gosh, just give me time. Here, talk to Tommy, and I hold my hand out like this. Now my scene partner's gonna grab my hand to become the phone that they talk into. It's just a little bit odd. You could be having a really cool, serious film noir scene. Two people are out for revenge, and they are in a gunfight, or about to have a gunfight. It's really tense, immersive, and the second somebody pulls out a gun like this and holds out their finger, I don't know, it takes away from some of the drama, some of the comedy even, right? Because objects are shareable. So if my scene partner, maybe has their hands up as I'm pointing at them, and they decide really quickly to grab my gun, well, they're grabbing my finger at this point. But if I'm holding a gun, they could go, ha-ha, gotcha. And that's way more immersive. It just creates an interesting transfer of power, transfer of gifts, which is more difficult to do when you're using your hands as objects. My second do of object work is emotions are great, object work is great. Put them together and it's amazing. So channel your emotions through your object work because, gosh, it's so interesting to see characters tap into their emotions with their physical space, Take like hammering a nail, for example. If you're angry in a scene, it's going to alter the way you hammer a nail. You're gonna be maybe more aggressive and just maybe you add sounds of effort. It's like, Or think about this, you're hiding your anger. You're still gonna be maybe a little bit more aggressive and loud, but maybe a little bit more muted. But maybe think about this, you're less accurate because you're so angry, so maybe you hit your hand and that makes you more angry. And it's all coming through engaging with your emotions through your object work. If you're hammering a nail and you're scared because you saw a spider recently, but you don't know where it went, well, you're gonna maybe be a little more quiet and just kind of shifting your eyes back and forth. And again, it's just an extra visual layer to your scene. And this also plays in the fact that object work is, again, shared. So like if you're angry and you're washing dishes with your scene partner and they say something that makes you mad, maybe you throw a dish at them or start spraying them with the hose. And that causes a reaction, If you throw a dish at your scene partner, are they gonna catch it? Is it gonna hit them in the head? That's the fun of emotions and leading to those gifts. So put your emotions into the way you interact with your environment and with your scene partner, and it's just gonna add more connection in the scene. You're gonna feel more in the scene because you're not only tapping into your mentality, your point of view, but also your physical space. My second don't of object work is don't hide your object work. There's a tendency sometimes for people, maybe beginning, but even people who've been doing it for a while, to not always be showing what they're creating on stage. Maybe they have their back to the audience or their back to their scene partners as they are interacting with the environment. And the problem is if you do that, then your audience, your scene partners are not informed. More importantly, your scene partners. If you start a scene by doing something physical on stage, but your back is to your scene partner and they don't see it, it's difficult for them to come in and, yes, and your offer. If you're cracking a safe, but your back is to me, I don't know that you're doing that. So my offer when I come in might not be in the realm of us like cracking a safe and trying to, perform a big heist. So I know there's a tendency sometimes because you might have a space where there's a back wall, there might be like objects up against the wall because that's what life is like, but play to that wall, the fourth wall. That is what will make it a lot easier for the audience to be connected to your scene. But again, more importantly, your scene partner. Don't hide your object work, show it for all to see. My third do of object work is exaggerate slightly, because this is a performance and hey, you might have seats really far away from you. Think about the nosebleed section. And we want to be able to reach those people with our space work. And it also helps us define the environment a little bit more. So like, for example, if I'm drinking from a glass and I go like this, and then I'm like, I don't want to hold it. I want to use my hands in the scene. So maybe I put my glass down, and if I go like that, it kind of just disappears, right? Because we naturally kind of just put glasses down without a lot of force because it's an object. It has weight, so it's going to stand up on its own. But on stage, when we have a mimed table or a mimed space, we want to emphasize it a little bit with like a popping motion, just like a little added like force that won't break the environment, but it will reinforce the environment. So exaggerate a little bit more, open your body a little bit more, like even when you drink from a glass, rather than going like this, that's so like collapsed into myself, just going like this. It is definitely a little bit more exaggerated, but it's not exaggerated in like a really like over the top fashion. We're just giving it a little bit more emphasis so that again, it becomes more seen to all in our space. My third and final don't is don't go fast. There's a tendency sometimes when we're nervous, we start going faster. When we are nervous, we speak faster. When we are nervous, we do object work faster. But the problem is when we do object work faster, we start to be less present-minded. If you're making a smoothie, with object work and you're like going really fast, like I've done this myself before and I'm like, what step am I at? What did I just do? And now I'm thinking in the past, right? But if you just slow it down and again, emphasize motions with a little bit more exaggeration, then at that point, I'm more connected to my space, my object work, and my scene. So slow it down. A lot of people sometimes, it looks like they're doing a Rubik's Cube on stage because they're just so jittery and they're not connected to what they're doing on stage. Take your time, I know we might be going fast because we're afraid of like showing flaws with object work. The slower we go, the easier it is to notice flaws. Don't worry, man, this is not a mime show, this isn't a clown show. The audience is not going to be judging that. Very rarely have I ever judged object work in an improv show. I'm usually just happy to see it. And I wanna end this video on a do, so do it more. Do object work more. Become comfortable being imperfect at it because it will lead you to finding more perfection with it, especially with just your confidence. If you have perfect confidence with object work, then hey, it's not gonna show your imperfections in the actual act of doing object work. Be comfortable doing it, If your scenes are all just talking head scenes, there's an element of like, I don't know, you could be coming up with really great dialogue, but I'm a little bit disconnected from it because you're not showing me where you are, your space. Like, are you in the rainforest? Are you in a mall? Well, I can't see that because you're not utilizing your environment, so do it more. I've said this 100 times to my students. You want your scenes to be equally entertaining for someone who can't see and someone who can't hear. So do it more and show all the different layers that improv has to offer. And that concludes this episode of MUT Tips, everybody. Thank you so much for checking it out. I really appreciate it. Again, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And hey, comment, baby, because this video was in response to a question that someone had in the comments. So your next comment might be featured in a new video. Or hey, just comment to say, hey, I really appreciate the video, or I liked the video, or I hated the video. Comments help us. Thank you so much, everybody. I'll see you next time for another episode of MUT Tips. Bye.